You know, behind the walls of every single home, there's this hidden network of pipes. And in a city like Brockton, Massachusetts, that network, well, it has a story to tell. So let's dive in and uncover what's really going on inside Brockton's plumbing. So let me ask you something right off the bat. What secrets are your pipes keeping? We're going to treat this like a detective story, because honestly, figuring out those secrets is the number one way to stop a tiny problem from turning into an absolute disaster. All right, so our investigation starts with a simple question. Why do homes in Brockton face such specific and kind of intense plumbing challenges? This isn't just random bad luck, not at all. It's an infrastructure story that's been decades in the making. Take a look at this timeline. This really gets to the heart of the issue. A huge chunk of Brockton's houses went up between the 1920s and the 1960s. And that's so important because it means their plumbing is from a totally different era, made with materials that are now just reaching the end of their lifespan. And all this creates what is basically a perfect storm. You've got Brockton's brutal New England weather, freezing winters, the ground literally shifting during the spring thaw. Then you mix in those aging pipes we just talked about and a high water table, and boom, you get constant, relentless pressure on this old infrastructure. So we've set the scene. We know the conditions are tough. Now it's time to meet our main suspects. We're going to profile the four most common culprits, the problems that pop up again and again because of all that pressure. First up, we've got the most notorious one of the bunch. This is a true villain born from those harsh Brockton winters. Let's call this one the winter menace. So here's how this menace works. When the thermometer dips below 20 degrees, the water inside your pipe starts to freeze and expand. It's just basic physics, but that force is powerful enough to split metal pipes wide open. But here's the real kicker. The catastrophe isn't the freeze itself. Nope, it's the thaw, when all that water is suddenly set free to pour into your home. All right, on to culprit number 2. This one's a lot more subtle. It doesn't hit you with that sudden violence of a burst pipe. This is a silent intruder, working slowly, methodically, and destructively right under your feet. Here's the play-by-play. In neighborhoods like Campello and Montello, a lot of homes still have their original clay sewer pipes from the 40s and 50s. Now, tree roots, they're like heat-seeking missiles for moisture. They find these tiny little cracks, they worm their way inside, and then they just explode into these huge, dense clogs that cause raw sewage to back up right into your basement. Now for culprit number 3. This is an appliance you'll find in almost every single basement, and it is, quite literally, a ticking time bomb. Think about your standard water heater. It's got a shelf life, right? Usually somewhere between 8 and 12 years. After that, rust and corrosion start to take over from the inside. It might start with a tiny little puddle, but it can end in a catastrophic failure, instantly dumping 40 to 50 gallons of scalding water all over your floor. Just imagine that happening when you're not even home. And that brings us to our final culprit. This one doesn't flood your basement or back up your drains. No. This one's a hidden thief. It slowly steals your water pressure and contaminates your water, all from the inside out. Now, this is really important. If your house was built before 1960, there's a good chance you have galvanized steel pipes. The problem is they rust from the inside out, so you never see the damage. This corrosion process is silently choking off the flow of water, and worse, it's leaching rust into the water you drink and bathe in. And you can't just patch it. The only real permanent fix is to replace the whole line. Okay, I know, we've just walked through a whole gallery of problems, and it can feel pretty overwhelming. So now, let's totally flip the script. Let's talk about getting from crisis to resolution. Because dealing with these issues isn't just about having the right wrenches, it's about having a clear, trustworthy plan. You know, this quote just nails it. When you're in the middle of a stressful plumbing emergency, the absolute last thing you need is more uncertainty. A true professional approach is all about transparency. It's about giving you the control, the information you need to make the right call for your home and your budget. So let's take a peek at the playbook that the experts use. This isn't guesswork. It's a methodical process, and it's designed to turn that chaotic emergency into a calm, managed, and resolved situation every single time. And it really just boils down to 3 simple, reassuring steps. 1, you call, and an expert is dispatched. 2, they diagnose the real problem, give you clear options with upfront pricing, and you approve the work. And 3, they get the repair done with quality parts and guarantee their work. It's simple, it's clear, and it's how it should be. So after all of this, what's the big takeaway? What's the bottom line? It's that your best defense against a plumbing disaster is knowledge. Understanding that hidden network of pipes in your own home, that's what gives you the power. Let's use a super common example, a clogged drain. The DIY move is to grab some store-bought chemicals, but those can actually eat away at older pipes, and a lot of the time, it's just a temporary fix. A pro, though, they might use a camera to see what's actually going on down there, then use something like a hydrojet to completely and safely clear the entire line. It's a real solution, not just a band-aid. And hey, if you ever wonder just how valuable that system inside your walls is, just look at this number. To replumb an entire house can cost anywhere from $12,000 to $20,000. Now, that's not to scare you, it's to show you that your plumbing is a huge, valuable asset, and taking care of it is just smart. So we end up right back where we started, with the question. Every little gurgle from a drain, every weird drop in water pressure, it's all part of a story. Now that you know what to look for, the only question left is, do you know the story your home is trying to tell you?